What is happening, everybody? Junior with Jet Pedals here. Today we are talking about the Red Sea again. However, this time we are going in depth on the wet, dry, wet setup. We're going to show you how to wire it, incorporate it into your pedal board, but more importantly, we're going to grab a guitar, plug it into our pedal board, and give you some playing examples so you can hear what it sounds like with and without the wet, dry, wet setup. So let's grab a guitar, plug it in, and let's get started. All right, so before we dig into some actual sound samples and playing, let's throw my pedal board up on the screen and have a look at our signal flow through this pedal board. All right, so as you can see, our first pedal in the chain is going to be our compressor. I use this as an always-on compressor. The second pedal, which we're not using today, is I use the second compression for slide, actually, but then when I play through other guitars, I'll use the EQ and the boost as well. So we're running compression, pitch shifter out of there into the Lion distortion. The Lion actually goes through my always on tuner and then goes into the Lamb. So I'm pushing the Lamb even harder with the Lion. And then from the Lamb, it goes into the Red Sea. So here we're using this Red Sea for wet, dry, wet. We have our drives coming in. I call that dirty, wet, dry, wet because my drives are going into the Red Sea. And then that drive is also being pushed out to my wet effects. So whenever you engage your drives, it pushes a hotter signal into your wet effects and they get louder as well. So that is typically how I would assume most people would run wet, dry, wet. So drives are sending out mono to the Sensatia. Then it sends stereo into the Walrus Audio D1, stereo to the Revelation V2, and the Revelation returns stereo into the Red Sea. So from here, you have your polarity switches, which you'll see me engage those from time to time in the video. And then this is our blend knob, which blends from wet to dry and anywhere in between. And then also, since we are running this as dirty, wet, dry, wet, where our drive signals do go to our wet, theoretically, when you blend this way, it's like having the Red Sea not even on your pedal board because you're just taking your drives and you're going right into your wet effects, kind of how you would run a traditional pedal board. So when this is turned all the way to the left, you'll notice that this is a traditional sound where you're running your drives in series into your wet effects. And then as you rotate clockwise, you start to bring in more of that dry signal and you get a little bit more clarity with everything. Okay, and then from out of this Red Sea, we go into this Red Sea, which runs the Dream and the Ruby in parallel. This Dream is set up to be warm, mid-scooped, and sparkly clean highs. And then this Ruby is set up to be kind of a bit edge of breakup, and then it's got more of a pushed mid sound. And so you'll see me in the video blend between the Dream over here and then the Ruby over here. I think I settle somewhere around here for my clean tones, and then somewhere around here for my more pushed, overdriven tones. And then this just goes out to right here, the Moore radars, which are IR loaders, and I use that when I'm running a 4-cable method, so those aren't even on today, they're bypassed. Then from there, they go out to a DSO Plus from Pinstripe Pedals, which is mounted underneath the riser here. So the DSO Plus goes right out to our Allen and Heath mixer, and we are recording direct into Ableton Live today. So there you go, that's my signal chain, so let's dig in and hear some sounds. Okay guys, so just like before in our demo video, we are setting up 3 different tones for you today. We are set up for ambient now, and then we'll go into more of a rhythm tone and lead tone later on. So right now I want you to pay attention to the blend knob. So all the way to the left, you're going to get a lot of wet effects, and as you rotate it clockwise, I want you to pay attention to the string definition and articulation that comes in. of the polarity switches and see what happens. Right now, your dry signal is in phase and it sounds like it's center panned, but if we flip one of the switches, it goes out of phase and you get a huge stereo spread. So this is in phase. Now we're going to flip that switch and listen to the stereo spread it gives you. Okay, so let's have a listen one more time, and you'll notice that the wet effects are unaffected, but it's your dry signal that goes from more of a center panned sound to more of a huge stereo spread. So let's listen. So as we rotate the knob more clockwise, you'll notice that the dry signal is always center panned, so this has less of effect as we rotate it more clockwise. And even further turned clockwise, this becomes almost unnoticeable. So have a listen and let's see what that sounds like. Okay, so now that we are done with ambient, let's move on to our rhythm tones. Here in just a second, we're going to set up the red C on the left to be more mid-pushed, so that we're going to rotate that on over to the ruby. And then we'll dial in some gain, and we've got our wet effects set up to be extremely washy. So this first iteration and go through is going to sound actually quite muddy, but you'll notice as we roll in the clean sounds, it's going to clean everything up really well, and it sounds amazingly huge. Okay, so there you have it. That is our rhythm sounds. Now let's move on to lead, and here again, it's going to sound really washy at first. Okay guys, so this just about wraps up the Wet Dry Wet video. I hope now that you can have a better understanding of what that signal is going to sound like, how you can get really articulate lead lines and huge washiness spread around there. I also hope you have a better understanding of how our polarity switches work and how you can go from an in-phase sound to more of an out-of-phase sound, giving you that huge stereo spread. So stick with us. Our next video will be on the parallel Dream and Ruby. So I hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see you on the next one.